This is CBS 12 News at 5.
What he wanted to build is a box, which is 8 by 8 foot, like a room, and no window, only a door, and then it started to get weird.
A CBS 12 News exclusive tonight. The contractor hired by a Jupiter family accused of caging their teenage son in a box inside their garage. Now sharing his story, and Liz, some never before seen pictures as well.
Jim, Jacques Benaim tells CBS 12 News he agreed to build that 7-foot tall 8 by 8 structure back in December, which was pitched to him as a home office by the family. He quoted the family $3,000 for the 2-day project. Benaim tells CBS 12 News it wasn't until the project was nearly done that he received several odd requests from Tim Ferris, the teen's adoptive father. CBS 12's Stephanie Valderrama spoke exclusively with a contractor. She joins us with the story you'll see only on CBS 12 News. Stephanie?
Jim, Liz, he tells me those requests didn't quite make sense for a home office, and he just couldn't shake the feeling something wrong was going on here. The next morning, he contacted police.
Jacques Benaim, a local contractor, says since the pandemic, converting garages into home offices has been pretty good business. In December, he was hired by a Jupiter family looking to add office space in their garage. The clients, he tells CBS 12 News, were Tracy and Tim Ferris.
When you spoke to Tim, what did he say initially?
He said he lives in Arizona and he just bought a house in Jupiter and they want to move in very soon. And he wants to build in the garage of the house he just bought in Jupiter an office, just like the office he's got in his garage in Arizona where he lives.
You have this conversation, nothing seems weird or unusual at this point.
At this point, no.
Benaim tells CBS 12 News Tim Ferris knew exactly what he wanted, the precise specs of the structure, the materials, everything. An exact replica of the home office the family had in Arizona.
What he wanted to build is a box, which is 8 by 8 foot, like a room, and no window, only a door. He just wanted to get done as soon as possible and as quick as possible.
Benaim and his team started the project immediately. It would take 2 days to finish. In exclusive pictures Benaim shared with CBS 12 News, he says here you can see the team building the frame and installing the door. It looks more like a closet than a box. That was day one. The first strange request was when Jacques and his team were only allowed to enter the garage through a side door not visible from the street. They were told to keep the garage door closed. Then he was instructed to put a roof over the structure, enclosing it.
And that was kind of weird because either you can leave it open and get some air. Why to build another ceiling under it? You can just leave it open, the ceiling, under the ceiling garage, and build your walls up to 7 feet. And then you'll get some air coming in. At that point, I asked him if he wanted me to open a window for that office, and he said no.
He suggested running AC into the room, but the idea was rejected. On day 2, they went in to complete the project, and that's when things got weird.
When did it become strange to you?
It becomes strange to me actually in the very last moment of the job, just before we left.
The first red flag, Tim Ferris wanted a hole in the corner of the box.
So he wanted you to build a hole.
Just to drill a hole.
To install a camera.
To install a camera. I didn't install the camera.
But he told you that that's what it was going to be for.
Yeah.
Then they were told to install the light switch on the outside of the structure, as you can see here, and to reverse the deadbolt so the door could only be locked and unlocked from the outside.
What will be the reason for someone to want to reverse locks on an office in the garage, which is completely sealed? And the only reason I could come up with was that he wants to lock a person over there. That explained why he wanted the switch light to be outside, and that also explained why he wanted the second ceiling, so the person cannot escape. And also the camera, of course.
Jacques contacted Jupiter police the next day. That was in December. It wasn't until almost mid-January that he heard back from a detective who agreed it was suspicious, but it wasn't a crime and there wasn't much they could do.
But you had an idea at that point.
I told them basically, the guy, Tim, the father, didn't pull up any permit to build that structure.
Knowing he could get in trouble himself for building without a permit, he suggested the idea to police. In his mind, it was the only way into the home to see what was going on. Just a few weeks after that call, on January 28th, Tracy Ferris reported her teenage son missing. 2 days later, police searched the home looking for the boy and discovered the very structure Jacques had told them about. Tracy Ferris was not clear with police about what the structure was, first saying it was an office, then a storage room, and finally a room used by the kids. While investigators were at the home, others located the boy at school. It was then that the boy detailed physical and emotional abuse, saying he was beaten with a belt or jump rope and even spit on, and that he was locked in that closet for up to 18 hours a day and forced to relieve himself in a bucket and clean it out himself. All of it recorded on the camera built into this tiny prison and corroborated by the 3 other children in the home, according to investigators.
I've been abused as a child. It was like I had that feeling.
The Ferris were arrested and charged with aggravated child abuse and false imprisonment. Their attorney argued the couple did what they had to do because of the boy's violent, antisocial behavior. Jacques repaired his relationship with his family, but as a victim of abuse, he says there's no excuse for what the parents are accused of doing. And tonight he has a message for that teen who was forced to live in that cell Jacques made.
I would say I feel very close to you, even that I don't know you. I've been through similar stuff in my childhood, and I'm so happy for you, and I wish I will get to know your name and even to meet you in person. It will make me very happy, and be strong, little boy.
So we have reached out to Jupiter Police to find out, after Jacques made that report, how detectives actually plan to investigate. And they tell us this is an ongoing investigation and they will not be releasing further details. We've also reached out to the Ferris attorneys. Once we do hear back, we'll let you know. Back to you.
Right now on CBS12.com, you can read Stephanie's reporter notebook on this story, see a gallery of photos from the contractor, and a detailed look at what investigators found.
We have continuing coverage now with a family whose son died after crashing his dirt bike. The family blamed their 13-year-old son's death on the Boynton Beach police officer who tried to pull the boy over for illegally driving on the street. The family wants that officer fired immediately, and they've even hired a well-known civil rights attorney to do that. CBS 12's Andrew Lofholm is live in Boynton Beach tonight. And Andrew, we understand that their attorney says that this officer has some incidents in his past that could play a role in this case.
That's right. Over the officer's 20-year career, we found that he had violated the no pursuit policy 3 times. Now, Stanley Davis III, going back to December 26, was filling up his dirt bike with gas at a Chevron, maybe about a block and a half that way. It was the last time that he was seen alive on video. And the video, you'll see it in a little bit here, but you can see Stanley then take a left. He's actually going north on Federal right here. The police officer is behind him. This is where he crashed and he died, where this memorial is right here. His family today saying that that officer needs to be fired today. Flanked by her attorneys and civil rights activists, Stanley Davis III's mother, Shannon Thompson, says her only son should be alive today.
We want Mark Schoen terminated immediately, as this should have been happened. And had he been terminated with the prior incidents, my son would still be here with us.
According to Boynton Beach police policy, officers can only chase a suspect accused of committing a forcible felony, something like murder or kidnapping. During his nearly 20-year Boynton Beach police career, Sohn has been punished 3 times for violating his department's pursuit policy. In 2004, he was suspended for 5 days after refusing to stop chasing a stolen car suspect after being told to stand down. He was written up in 2010 after violating it again. But the Davis legal team is focusing in on 2 deadly encounters. In 2012, he was suspended for a day after Cyrus Deal, the man Sohn was chasing, crashed and died on 95. Speeds reportedly touched 100 miles per hour. And then in 2016, Sohn was chasing Lex Eugene when Eugene crashed into 5-year-old Jaden Radon, killing the boy. He was crossing the street with his family. Eugene was sentenced to 30 years in prison for his role. Sohn was not punished for that incident, but he did testify in court.
There was also attempting to do CPR at that point.
And did the boy survive?
No, he did not.
Sohn is the subject of an ongoing civil suit in that case. In surveillance video from December 26th, you see Stanley Davis III filling up his bike with gas when he sees Sohn in his police SUV pull into the Chevron. The boy kicks the bike into gear, first heading west out of frame. He makes a U-turn off camera, then comes back into frame, turning north with the police car close behind, navigating through traffic with its lights on. Investigators say Davis lost control and crashed. He died on the scene.
This happened in December. So we're talking about all of this time going by that nothing is being done about the death of black people, and particularly young black people, and we call it murder. And I know that is something that we will have to deal with at a later time, but for now, the demand for a termination is basic.
The Boynton Beach police chief said at the time he had not seen any evidence the officer made contact with the dirt bike. There was no dash cam video from the crash. During today's press conference, I asked the Davis legal team if there is any more video the public hasn't seen.
We've certainly fought hard to obtain additional video. So far, we have not obtained any video footage. I cannot confirm or deny whether or not it exists.
Sohn has claimed Marsy's Law, which allows crime victims to keep their name from public record, because he says he and his family have received death threats after Davis died.
He ultimately is not the victim. He is the cause of what happened.
The Florida Highway Patrol and Internal Affairs are investigating this. Now, the officer is on paid administrative leave, and he has been since December 26th, and which is normal in situations like this where somebody has been killed. I did reach out to the Boynton Beach Police Department multiple times asking for comment. They told me that they would get back to me, but so far, as of this broadcast, they haven't. We're live in Boynton Beach. Andrew Lofholm, CBS 12 News.
New information tonight about the investigation of how an elderly woman fell to her death while crossing the Royal Palm Drawbridge last month. We're now learning that the investigation into what happened and who is to blame is drawing to a close. CBS 12's Lexi Null has been following this story. She has the very latest.
It's been almost a month since 79-year-old Carol Wright fell to her death walking across this drawbridge. Now, new documents show that the operator who raised the bridge is being investigated for manslaughter. Call logs, text messages, and internet browsing history are just some of the things that West Palm Beach police are now digging into as they search through the cell phone of the bridge tender who was on duty when Carol Wright fell to her death. The elderly woman was walking from Palm Beach to downtown West Palm when the tender raised the bridge, killing Carol. A search warrant obtained by CBS 12 shows that the bridge tender who was working that day could have been on her phone around the time the bridge went up. Police are now investigating that operator for manslaughter by culpable negligence. The bridge operator works for a private company called Florida Drawbridges, Inc. The county uses them to staff some local bridges. We reached out to that company today. Once again, they declined to comment on the incident and refused to tell us whether the operator is still employed. We're told this investigation could be wrapping up relatively soon. After that, it'll be up to the state attorney's office to decide whether or not to file charges. For now, reporting in Palm Beach, I'm Lexi Null, CBS 12 News.
Next at 5, the next generation satellite bound for space. How it will provide a better view of our planet and potentially save lives and protect homes.
The airstrikes continue in the heart of Ukraine as its capital city is hit with another deadly rocket, killing more civilians.
There are millions of dollars in coins and jewelry not far from where you live, but finding it and getting to it is the hard part. At 5:30, only on CBS 12 News, a huge haul of sunken treasure.
And it looks like we're seeing a pretty mild day out there today. A little bit breezy, but a mixture of sun and clouds, temperatures lower 70s. A look ahead to when we get our next chance for some sprinkles and your weekend forecast coming up.
Tonight, Ukraine's president is calling an attack on the country's second largest city an act of terror, saying the Freedom Square in Kharkiv held no military targets.
Russia also says it's going after key targets in Ukraine's capital of Kyiv, specifically its communications and tech operations. CBS 12's Thomas Forrester is here with the latest.
Yeah, Jim and Liz, today was day 6 of the Russian invasion into Ukraine. Now, in an emotional address before the European Parliament, Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky said his nation is fighting to survive this brutal invasion. Take a look at this. Eyewitness video captured the moment a Russian missile struck a television tower in the capital, Kyiv. This as a 40-mile Russian convoy remained stalled on the outskirts of the city. The deadly attack came on the same day Russian forces hit the administration building in Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, killing several people, wounding dozens. President Biden says he spoke with President Zelensky for over 30 minutes discussing further sanctions against Russia, as well as defense assistance for Ukraine. House Republicans, though, argued that the assistance should also include weapons. Now, as the crisis continues to unfold, 200 American troops have now landed in Germany as part of NATO's eastern flank. Their arrival comes as Russia's defense minister says it will continue its Ukraine operation until its goals have been achieved.
Stocks slid and oil prices surged, breaking above $106 per barrel as the Ukraine-Russia conflict intensifies. The Dow Jones lost 597 points today. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 also closed in negative territory. The newest and most advanced weather satellite for the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration blasted off from Cape Canaveral at 4:30 this afternoon.
Yeah, this is outfitted with the latest tech to help meteorologists provide even more accurate forecasting. That's pretty important here in Florida. Our meteorologist Zach Covey is live at Cape Canaveral today, just a few miles away from the launch site. Zach, pretty impressive to see that, huh?
It always is impressive to see a rocket launch here from the Cape. Good evening to you, Liz and Jim, and good evening at home. I'll be honest with you, I was a little concerned. The winds are still blowing here, as you can see at the Cape, but they were lucky enough to be below the threshold for the United Launch Alliance's Atlas V rocket to blast off from Launch Complex 41 directly behind me. Take a look at the video here on your screen. That Atlas V carrying the GOES-T weather satellite. It is the third in a 4-series generation heading on up to space. The fourth one will be launched in 2024, by the way. This weather satellite capable of producing satellite images of half of the globe every minute in 16 different spectral bands. That includes visible and infrared. It's also going to be very crucial out west in wildfire detection. This is going to help meteorologists detect wildfires in states like California, Oregon, and Washington in their early stages, helpful for firefighters to get out there and kind of control the blaze before it gets out of control. Back out here live at Cape Canaveral, like I said, the weather is absolutely gorgeous now. The wind's still a bit gusty, but thankfully they were below the thresholds for that rocket to launch. We should be able to start getting data from that rocket in 2 weeks, and it should become operational in about 3 to 4 months. Live in Cape Canaveral, I'm meteorologist Zach Covey. Back to you.
Well, Vitas, it certainly looked like a beautiful day for a launch out there. Gorgeous.
Indeed, indeed. Great job, Zach. And I know it was pretty impressive when you're standing right next to it. I got to get a little image of that far away from it, just in the front yard here at the station, doing a Facebook Live, and we got to see it. A lot of folks were responding that they're watching it, whether they're in Port St. Lucie or they're up to the north or even around here in West Palm. But it looks like we're seeing relatively clear conditions. Great day to catch the launch, and you can see a little bit of sunshine across the area. We have a few broken clouds, and there was a few spotty showers offshore, but for the most part, looking up north towards Space Coast, looking pretty good as we continue to see a few showers drifting down to the south of Delray Beach. So it looks like our hour-by-hour forecast, looking at about 70 degrees as we get to the 6 p.m. rush hour. As we get into the later dinner time hours, we're looking at upper 60s, mainly clear conditions, dry, and it looks like we're going to see things quiet down. Most of those showers should stay offshore, and by morning, it looks like sunrise, 6:44 a.m. We'll see partly cloudy skies. Temperatures anywhere from 67 to 70 degrees. So it should be a pretty decent start all in all. Our zone forecast, looking at those temperatures as we wake up, Wellington 62 degrees, 65 Lake Worth, Delray at 66 degrees, moving up the coast, 64 in Jupiter, Loxahatchee at 62 degrees, 65 West Palm, and then you get along the Treasure Coast, about 58 in Vero, 54 in Okeechobee. So a little bit of a cool start with that northerly wind. So definitely it is jacket weather as you head out tonight and starting off for tomorrow morning, heading off to school and work. But by the afternoon, the forecast warms up a little bit, mid-upper 70s. 70s across the area, about 77 to 80 degrees. It looks like by the mid-afternoon, 1 to 2 o'clock, we will see those temperatures at their peak, especially towards 3. So our highs tomorrow going anywhere from the upper 70s along the coast and low 80s from Wellington, 81 degrees, Delray Beach, 80 degrees, 78 at Lake Worth, 78 Jupiter, looking at West Palm, 79 degrees, a high of 81 in Royal Palm. And as you get up around Stewart and Hope Sound and these areas moving up the coast, about high of 78 degrees Fort Pierce, 83 Okeechobee. So we will see our temperatures warm up a bit, but we're getting that northerly wind, and that's why it's a little breezy as we go through the afternoon. Your hour by hour temperatures and breezes will pick up a little bit as we go through the evening, but then start calming down. Winds will die a bit, but Wednesday we're looking at 8 a.m. Still nice and clear, warm and dry as we go through the day. We have our next weather maker still moving in from the north. This area of high pressure will continue to keep it a little bit breezy as we go through Saturday, Sunday, but we'll get that onshore flow, giving us a chance for maybe a little stray shower here and there. You see the rain chances anywhere from about a 20% chance tomorrow as we get through the next several days. Low potentials, maybe late Sunday, but Monday, Tuesday, a chance for a few rainmakers here and there, widely scattered. Saturday and Sunday look pretty nice, partly sunny, maybe a sprinkle, but we're looking for the most part, all sun out there with temperatures in the low 80s. And our 10-day forecast, not bad, upper 70s, nice and sunny for most of the days leading in through the weekend. I think we should have a decent weekend, upper 70s, low 80s through Saturday and Sunday. Back to you.
Coming up, it's a big night for President Biden.
But 2 of Florida's top Republicans are shunning the president's State of the Union tonight. We're going to tell you why. Just hours now, President Biden will be delivering his first State of the Union address to our nation. Speech will start at 9 o'clock tonight. Of course, you can watch it right here on CBS 12. The president is expected to talk about Russia's invasion of Ukraine and his plan to pass his Build Back Better agenda, among other things. Meantime, fencing and extra police are now in place in case protests get out of hand. National Guard is also on standby.
Governor Ron DeSantis rejected a request by the Biden administration to send Florida National Guard members to D.C. for security support. And Senator Marco Rubio is boycotting the speech over what he calls strict COVID protocols. Again, you can watch the State of the Union right here on CBS 12 News tonight at 9 o'clock.
Still to come, does Russia have even bigger plans?
We go one-on-one with a former diplomat to Ukraine who now lives on the Treasure Coast. His insight into what Putin wants and what he thinks U.S. involvement should look like.
This is CBS 12 News at 5:30.
President Biden and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky now speaking by phone. Zelensky says they discussed a number of things, including assistance to Ukraine and sanctions on Russia. Meantime, the Russian airstrikes continue. The main TV tower was hit, killing 5 people earlier today, and hundreds of Russian tanks continue to spill into Kyiv as Russia tries to shut down the capital city. A top expert from Ukraine happens to live here on the Treasure Coast.
The retired diplomat to Ukraine now lives in Vero Beach and sat down with our Danielle DeRoss to share why he's so concerned about this conflict escalating.
David Hunter served in Ukraine during the Clinton administration. He says he's extremely worried watching what is happening there now and says this could easily turn into a world war.
This is my staff.
David Hunter keeps scrapbooks of old photos from Ukraine, where he served as diplomat during the late 90s and early 2000s. Looking at these photos now and seeing the destruction there today, he's full of emotion.
Well, it's a combination of sadness and outrage.
He's also worried about Putin's long-term strategy should he successfully take Ukraine. Hunter believes Baltic states could be next as Putin tries to rebuild the former Soviet empire.
Putin himself is, I have to say it, he's borderline psychopathic. This Ukrainian situation is just the beginning.
Should we be bracing for a world war?
I think it would not be a bad idea for all Americans to realize that this could spiral into a direct confrontation between NATO and Russia.
The former diplomat believes the United States can and should do more to put pressure on Putin now. He thinks Russian oligarchs should not be allowed to keep their assets or travel freely in the West. He also wants to see Russia expelled from the United Nations. As Russian troops move closer to the capital, Kiev, Hunter says it's critical to keep weapons and aid flowing to the Ukrainian people. Are you optimistic that Ukraine stands a chance up against Russia right now?
Yes, I'm optimistic. The Ukrainians are tough. I think that spirit of resistance will last, and if America and other countries continue and augment the amount of aid that they're giving, especially military aid, that could turn the tide.
Hunter tells me he agrees with President Biden that American troops should not be sent to Ukraine right now, but he says if NATO partners get involved, that would directly bring us into the war. Reporting in Vero Beach, Danielle DeRoss, CBS 12 News.
The city of Riviera Beach is trying to help families in the midst of our housing crisis while also revitalizing an important part of downtown. The goal is to turn Broadway Avenue between 25th and 45th Streets into a new destination. As CBS 12's Lena Salzbank reports, it's part of the Reimagine Riviera Beach program.
Yeah, that program looks to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on redeveloping city facilities like City Hall, fire and police stations, and city libraries, but they also are placing a big emphasis right here on the Broadway corridor. City officials say they hope to bring in more restaurants, more safety measures, and more affordable housing, like this 110-unit building that they just broke ground on. With the turn of a shovel, a groundbreaking at 3100 Broadway Avenue paves a new future for families in Riviera Beach struggling to find affordable housing.
You look at the per capita personal income in Riviera Beach versus other areas in Palm Beach County, we're significantly lower. So this development is going to address most of the folks that call Riviera Beach home.
Berkeley's Landing will feature a mix of 110 single, 2- and 3-bedroom affordable units and 2 additional live-work spaces.
The place that I'm at now, I absolutely love, and my owner just sold it because of the opportunity to sell it for $100,000 more.
Nicole Thomas is just one of many residents who will benefit from the new apartments being built. After 6 years of jumping from place to place, Thomas is excited to have found an affordable home.
I will be in the work-live space, so my storefront will be downstairs and my living quarters will be above.
Thomas owns a business and says this will not only provide a roof over her head, but an opportunity to expand and grow her business. The $35 million housing complex will provide 17 units, 30% off the median income, 74 units at 60% of the median income, and 19 units at 80% of the median income. Berkeley's Landing plans to be completed in 2023. Now, future Riviera Beach Reimagined plans also includes a wellness and recreation center. In Riviera Beach, Lena Salzbank, CBS 12 News.
The man accused of defacing the LGBTQ pride intersection over in Delray Beach last year back in court today. Alexander Jerich pleading now guilty of criminal mischief charges and reckless driving, among other things. Last year, Jerich spun out his truck while driving over a pride crosswalk painted on the street. He's facing up to 5 years in prison. The judge in the case says the sentencing will happen sometime in May.
New data shows Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 5 to 11 is not as effective in preventing infection. That's according to New York State health officials. The data suggests the vaccine offers almost no protection against getting COVID-19, but it does protect children from getting severely sick. Pfizer is the only vaccine maker authorized for that age group in the U.S. Researchers say the shot might not work as well on children because they only receive 1/3 of the dose given to older children and adults.
New developments tonight in the talks between Major League Baseball's owners and its players.
Sports director John Evanson is in Jupiter tracking the latest on the negotiation.
Hey, John Evanson here at Roger Dean Stadium, where baseball fans got some bad news just a few minutes ago. There will be no baseball to start the season. Opening day has been canceled and no spring training for the foreseeable future. This could get even uglier. I'll have the details coming up.
Disappointing news for pro baseball fans.
Yeah, the players have now rejected the league's final offer to end the lockout. The meetings are being held in Jupiter, and our sports director John Evanson is live right now at Roger Dean Stadium with the very latest. John?
Hey guys, yeah, depressing stuff. Normally at around this time you would see Marlins fans, maybe Cardinals fans coming out of the stadium after enjoying some matinee baseball, but now there's no telling when that will happen. As you just mentioned, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred making the announcement moments ago that the beginning of the regular season will be canceled, and that of course means we have no idea when we're going to see spring training baseball here. The final proposal by the MLB was rejected by the players union. Both of them, the players we just saw head off in their cars a few moments ago, still way too far apart on some of the key subjects. Now, it seemed promising when they spoke here for 16 hours yesterday, then decided to push the deadline forward to today, and they rejoined, they reconvened, they discussed it even further. It felt like maybe something was happening here, but in the end, still too far apart on things like luxury tax and even the minimum wage for rookies, which the MLB actually gave a 20% increase for, but still not what the players were looking for. I spoke with USA Today baseball reporter Bob Nightingale, who may have a little bit of good news for our area at least. He says when they do figure this thing out, if they do figure this thing out, there will have to be spring training baseball still here in Palm Beach County and on the Treasure Coast. Let's listen to him.
I think spring training here no matter what. I think they got to. Facilities are beautiful and everything else, and you can't ramp it up in some of these cold cities in April, and you want to play some spring training games. But who's going to show up to the spring training games if they're not on the schedule and fans weren't preparing for it? So those crowds would be very small.
So maybe not the visitors that we're used to seeing in our area. No matter what happens, it will damage the economy that comes in, or the money that comes in from spring training baseball. The other thing that Bob told me that's a little bit frightening earlier on, before we knew all this was going to happen, Bob told me that if they did not figure things out today, it was going to get really ugly. So if you think this is ugly, strap on your seatbelts. Hopefully, baseball fans don't have to endure an entire season without the sport. Reporting from Roger Dean Stadium, John Evanson, back to you guys.
Finding sunken treasure is something you can only dream about.
But some people in our area are actually doing this for a living right off our coast, and they gave us a look at some treasure they found. We'll show it to you next. Maybe no better place to hunt for sunken treasure than off the Treasure Coast.
Yeah, our Al Peffley brings us an exclusive look at Treasure Coast from a recent expedition that not only a handful of people have seen so far.
A little over 300 years ago, a fleet of Spanish ships loaded with treasure sank off our coastline. Finding all that silver and gold takes lots of patience, persistence, and painstaking effort.
It's just incredible when you find treasure. It's mind-boggling.
Very heavy, very heavy.
So that coin right there is worth about $20,000.
Wow.
Over the years, treasure hunter and diver Mike Perna and his crew have uncovered many gold coins like this one, buried under 5 feet of sand on the ocean floor. Now, for the first time, these professional treasure hunters, or historical shipwreck salvers as they prefer to be known, are showing off some solid silver artifacts.
It's totally unique. Nothing like it has ever been found on the 1715 fleet, and I'm not aware of anything like it on any galleons in Florida.
The Vero Beach native couldn't believe his eyes when he found this solid silver disc.
And it has an embossed image on the front of it, and it is of presumably a conquistador, and this is a horse.
It's an amazing find.
And so this is exactly how it looked when it came out of the ocean.
The disc is just one of 70 silver artifacts Perna found near Sebastian over a 3-day period last summer. He believes all of it came from one of the 11 ships that were sailing from Havana to Spain when they were caught in a hurricane more than 300 years ago.
When they got driven into the shallow water and their hulls actually struck the reef, struck the bottom, then they came apart and they literally exploded.
There are still several whole vessels that have not been found that are still somewhere off of our coast.
Perna says the silver items he salvaged last July are very rare and very significant.
It's fantastic, and you're very excited. You get goosebumps. Everybody's high-fiving on the back deck of the boat. So what this is basically the Madonna, an image of the Madonna, and she's holding the baby Jesus. And there's a big sunburst around the outside.
He says this silver Madonna had been dipped in molten gold and was most likely made in Mexico.
What are we looking at there?
It's a very unique piece. It's a lion. It's a silver lion in a dormant stance. with a crest or shield on its breast.
The lion was found about 200 yards from shore, along with more religious items like this small silver cross and 2 figures Perna believes are cherubs. They also found pieces of a solid silver candelabra. All these silver things were found in an area about 200 feet by 200 feet, buried under 5 or 6 feet of sand. For now, treasure hunters are waiting for the summer months to return so they can resume their work when the seas are flat and the visibility underwater is at its best. Brandon says he'll have at least 20 boats out here working this summer, looking for gold and silver that's been untouched for more than 3 centuries. Near Sebastian, Al Peffley, CBS 12 News.
Wow, quite fascinating story there. You can imagine what's under the waves out there. We're talking about what's going on in your time lapse. Start out a little bit cloudy this morning, but take a look at how the sun start poking out as we headed through the afternoon. And now we're seeing beautiful sunshine out there, and it looks like we'll continue to see clearing skies, just a few high thin clouds offshore. In fact, Lake Worth Beach looking pretty good as we saw some nice waves out there. A little breezy though, as there are a few little spotty showers just offshore, and we'll continue to see maybe even southern portions of Palm Beach County, a little sprinkle inland. But for the most part, it looks like our hour-by-hour forecast is showing mainly clear skies with just a few clouds at our 6 to 7 p.m. time frame. And then getting into the later hours, 8, 9, 10, we're seeing those temperatures dipping down into those mid-60s and looking at mainly clear skies. Waking up tomorrow morning, temperatures right in between 67 and 70 degrees, sunrise around 6:44 a.m. We'll see partly cloudy skies. Now, it looks like what we'll see are those wake-up zone temperatures. We're seeing those temperatures across the area in the lower mid-60s, and we're looking at those temperatures as we go further north, even a little cooler in the upper 50s, 62 Royal Palm, 64 Palm Beach Gardens. As you get up around Vero Beach, about 58 degrees, 54 Okeechobee. So a little cooler air to start off with as you go further north and inland. And the wind is making it feel a little bit chillier, so you definitely need that jacket heading out. But if you're going to the pool tomorrow, best time will be in the afternoon, right around 1 to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock maximum, looking at sun and clouds. And it looks like we'll see those temperatures upper 70s, low 80s across the area. So your highs are looking at across the region, your zone temperatures, 78 Lake Worth, 78 Boynton, looking at 81 in Wellington, 80 in Boca Raton, going up the coast here. Jupiter about 79 degrees, as well as Palm Beach Gardens, 81 Royal Palm Beach and Jupiter Farms. West Palm coming in about 79 degrees and getting in those upper 70s, going from Vero Beach, Fort Pierce, Stewart, Hope Sound, and looking at 83 in Okeechobee. So it looks like your hour-by-hour forecast going from tonight, there it looks like those little spotty showers will continue to dissipate. Looking at that northerly flow for Wednesday morning starting off. Plenty of sunshine, a nice clear day, warm and dry for the most part as we go through the day Wednesday, but then we may get a little pop-up shower late as we go through the day. I only give it about a 10 to 20% chance on Wednesday. High pressure will continue to move across the southern portion of the country, southeastern portion of the nation getting that breezy and dry condition, but we'll see that return flow from the southeast, and that means that we'll probably get maybe a little pop-up shower, especially early next week. Rain chances about a 20% chance on Wednesday, 10% chance on Friday, and we're getting clearing conditions as we go into the weekend. Monday, Tuesday, about a 20% chance for a sprinkle here and there. Headed to your weekend, looking at Saturday, 79 degrees, partly sunny, a beautiful day, and we'll see temperatures right around 80 on Sunday. Another great day. More on your 10-day coming up.
Well, here's our drone 12 flying over Harborside Place in Jupiter. You're watching CBS 12 News, the one to turn to.
Children with medical needs, like all children, really thrive when they're a part of a family setting, a home where there's a parent who can give them that one-on-one attention, as it is Manny's case, who's currently waiting in a group home, hoping that someone will open their heart to him. Here's this week's Forever Family.
So Manny is just a typical boy at heart, has a very loving personality, is always smiling, and lights up when somebody he knows enters their room. Just a really sweet boy.
He is a young boy who enjoys life.
He loves trucks. That's the big thing with Manny. He loves trucks, red trucks, blue trucks, all the big trucks.
What was that?
He really likes to keep his mind busy. He loves playing games on his tablet. Very silly. He says things that he knows is silly and he'll start laughing.
And while every child needs attention, Manny needs a little extra special care.
He does. He has certainly learned ways to get his needs across and to communicate with those.
Where are you going?
Really, really special. He's making a lot of strides, and despite some of his needs, just really making a lot of progress.
And those efforts allow him to enjoy the thrills that are typical for any young child.
So Manny does go to school. The school system has been wonderful with accommodations and ensuring that all of his needs are met throughout the day. He has the ability to make friends, of course.
He was gone bye-bye. He left.
And he would love nothing more than to form a bond with a family that will be there forever.
Manny is so deserving of a family. He would benefit from a family that's going to advocate and be his cheerleader.
Bye. Bye.
And just supporting him as he makes those goals and strides in life.
He has such a great smile. When you adopt or foster a child with medical needs, you receive full training and medical support at no cost to you. To find out more, contact Forever Family in partnership with ChildNet, Communities Connected for Kids, and Mike Holt Enterprises by visiting foreverfamily.org.